So, first of all, I'd like to thank all the speakers for your presentations. They were very insightful, and I certainly learned a bit. I got two questions. I'll direct them to Sister Taiba and Sister Okolo. I'm Sarah's older brother, so I don't want to pick on her today. First question I have is, as you guys travel the country and make presentations and go to different communities, do you have any observations about the differences, as we're talking about a distinct Muslim American identity and culture, do you have any observations about how different Muslims in different communities, different cities, different regions of the country, South versus North versus West versus East Coast, how they are related or similar to their greater city that they live in? For example, in the South, it has a distinct culture, and Southern Muslims, by default, whether they realize or not, pick up aspects of that culture. Same thing with the East Coast and West Coast and the North. So that's the personal observation that I've had about certain things. I was wondering if you guys agree or disagree or have any other observations. Secondly, do you have any advice for us here in the community of Memphis, especially with this type of program that, alhamdulillah, we've been having it for 11 years. What can we do better? What are we doing that maybe is not as effective as it could be if we change some of the methods in order to reach out, especially when it comes to delivering the message of Islam? How can we make the greater audience understand in a better way or a more effective way about Islam? And like Sister Ogolo's presentation and both your presentation, I think you guys did a tremendous job of delivering a very effective message about Islam and how Islam relates to the American identity and to American society. So just wanted to get your answers.
I think in terms of the regional, looking at Muslims from various different regions, I have traveled across the country, and I would not say that I've noticed a lot in terms of, regional differences. But what I have noticed is that, and you're doing that here, is that really Muslim should not be as focused on regions, countries, but they should be really more focused on building and bonding better relationships with the diverse Muslim community. And as I've traveled, I've found that that is something that really is a challenge still for Muslims in America, in the most diverse Muslim environment on the face of the earth. So what I find is that we've got to do more to build intra-faith dialogue and discussion and interaction so that we can better effect the kinds of changes that we need to affect. And I really respect what the our Jewish brother said, that some of the things that that we are doing within the culture is not really, it's really, we might be focusing too much on those kinds of things as opposed to those things that should be primary and a priority. So that's what I have to say.
I do think that there's a little bit of cultural distinction with geography. I know the the Muslim surfers are in California. We also have Splash Gear, which is a Muslim women's bathing suit company that started, and that's in California. I think many of the Muslim hip-hop artists are in the Northeast. We do have a couple in the South, but I would say that most are in New York and Washington, D.C. So there's a little bit of distinction. Iman in Chicago is a social service model that I think can be extrapolated for the entire country, but they're very strong with social services in Chicago, and that is, I think, again, a little bit of where they are and what's going on. And of course, they're taking it to the streets. Music festival is it gained, I think it had an attendance the last time of 20,000 people. And Chicago has, of course, the reputation of the music there too. So I think a little bit is infused, a little bit of the personality kind of rubs off, but we are really doing things that are uniquely Muslim American. For instance, fast-a-thons that the university MSAs put on during Ramadan, that is distinctly Muslim American. You're not finding that otherwhere, anyplace else. Eid picnics, Muslim American. Bean pies, Muslim American. So, the comedy tours, Muslim American. So there are a few things that we are creating that you're not finding in every other community. Thank you. And I think Muslims in Memphis are doing a fabulous job.
Before you go, the next person go, I have a question here that was written, and I think some of it has been addressed. And it says, please explain the discrepancy between the two factions of Islam. The recent recovery of an Afghani Pakistani teen girl from an attack on her publicly supporting girls' education. If they're asking about the discrepancy between the two factions of Islam. I think that's more cultural than Islam.
Right. As I was saying in my presentation, that misogyny, mistreatment of women have been practiced in some Muslim majority countries. And in some Muslim majority countries, the religion is actually trumped by cultural tradition. I visited Pakistan, I visited Afghanistan, and I remember sitting down talking to some of the women's groups and trying to plead with them to tell them that, this behavior, this treatment is not Islamic. Why don't you, appeal to the men in that vein? And they said, well, we tried that. They said, I've been Muslim 1,400 years, but I've been fill in the blank of the name of the tribe for 4,000 years. And so we have a situation where tribal loyalties and traditions have greater input or have greater value than the religious. And so again, you have to be able, for people who are looking at Muslim majority countries without the crucible of knowledge through which to filter behavior, it would be like us deciding that all Christian behavior should be measured by, Roman Catholic priests who are abusing girls, or children or somebody who wants to burn the Quran, or Waco, or just the fringe. So you really have to know that what the religion says is that every woman, Muslim, non-Muslim, Christian, Jew, has the right to a life of dignity, freedom, and peace. If you are to live your life so that at the end of your life you are what we call a nafsul mutma'inna, that soul that is completely at peace, I say without fear, without guilt, without hatred, without envy, all of that is removed from you. How could you attain that state if you're being abused, if you're being denied education, if you're being denied freedom? It's incongruent. So anything that you have to measure it up against that worldview, and anything that doesn't measure up, then it's not Islam.